Hey guys, again, hope all is well, hope your families are doing well, hope you guys are all safe and healthy. Today we're going to do a quick review because tomorrow you guys are going to get your first quiz for Cycle 4. I never expected it to go this long in terms of being out of school, so it's one of those things we got to do. But I'm going to try to help out as much as possible. The quiz I'm going to make as self-explanatory as possible. It's going to be 6 questions tomorrow on the quiz. And the 6 questions are going to deal with just surface area and volume of a rectangular prism. And again, first thing you got to know, it's just going to deal with just prisms, right? And it's just going to deal with rectangular prisms. So you have a rectangular prism, right? And the one thing we know about prisms, it's a 3D shape, 3-dimensional shape, which means it has a length, it has a width, and it has a height, right? Where you have the length, you have the width, and you have the height. And that's why it's a 3-dimensional shape. It has 3 dimensions. And on tomorrow's quiz, it's going to be 6 questions that just focus on surface area and volume. So the one thing you got to know about surface area is always what's on the outside of a figure. Volume is always what's on the inside. So again, surface area is always what is on the outside, right? It's on the outside. And volume is always what's on the inside. So always think of it this way. If you're talking about surface area, you're talking about how much is actually on the rectangular prism itself, on the outside of it. Think of it as almost how much paper would be on a gift. Whereas volume is how much would be inside. So almost think like if you were to fill up this box, volume would be how much is actually full on the inside. And always remember, surface area is what's on the outside of the figure, volume is what's on the inside. So those are going to be 2 questions, same questions that you're always discussing. And then you're going to have 2 questions that's just going to deal with surface area and 2 questions that's just going to deal with volume, where it's literally going to say, find the surface area of the figure, find the volume of the figure. And I'll just do a quick review. So let's say I wanted to find surface area. So let's say that this here is going to end up being 4 centimeters. Let's say that this here is going to be 3 centimeters. And let's say that the height's going to end up being 6 centimeters. So if you want to find surface area, and again, all of this is on that formula sheet that I provided, right? So if you want to find surface area, the formula for surface area is going to be 2 length times width plus 2 width times height plus 2 length times height, right? And all it is then, it's just substituting the terms. So what we have here is we know that the 4 represents the length, we know that the 3 represents the width, and we know that the 6 represents the height, how high the figure is. And now it's just substituting everything in. So if we're going to work our way through this now, it's going to end up being 2, right? You have 2. We know that the length is 4. We know that the width is 3. So that right there is already our first part. We know 2 length times width. And now for the second part, since we're done with the first part right there, second part's going to be 2, right? Width, which is 3, times 6, which is the height. And again, it's just 2 times width times height. That part's done. And then the last part's going to end up being, I'll write it down here. It's going to end up being 2. It's going to end up being 2. And now we know that the length is 4. And we know that the height is 6. Okay. 2 times length times height. And now once we have all of that, it comes just about substituting everything. It's about simplifying everything. So what we're going to do is we're just going to work our way through it, simplifying. And whenever we have numbers next to each other, it's just multiplying. So we know that 2 times 4 is 8. So this gave us 8, and we have 8 times 3, plus 2 times 3 is 6, and then we still have the 6 there. And we know that 2 times 4 is 8 times the 6 there. And again, if you want to, you don't have to do this step, but you could. And it was 2 times 4 gave us 8, 2 times 3 gave us 6, 2 times 4 gave us 8, and now we do 8 times 3 is 24, 6 times 6 is 36, and we know that 8 times 6 is 48. And if you wanted to, again, you could have done this from the beginning, because 2 times 4 was 8, 8 times 3 is 24, 2 times 3 is 6, 6 times 6 is 36, 2 times 4 is 8, 8 times 6 is 48. And once you get to that, it's just simplifying out your work by adding everything up. We know that 24 plus 36 gives us 60. And then we still have the 48 there. And we know that 60 plus 48 gives us 108. Let's not forget it, centimeters. And since we're talking about surface area, every time it's area, area is always squared. So that would be our surface area. It's going to be literally how much space would be on the outside of that figure. So on tomorrow's quiz, it's going to be 2 questions that deal with finding surface area, and then there are going to be 2 questions that deal with finding the volume. And again, volume we know is how much space is on the inside of the figure. All right? So we'll do a practice problem of that. And now if we wanted to find the volume of the figure, whenever it comes to finding volume, it would be length times width times height. And you can see it that way just because, again, whenever all the variables are all next to each other, it just means that you're multiplying them all. So, easiest thing in the world. We know that the length is 4. We know that the width is 3. And we know that the height is 6. And since we have all this, again, it's just substituting the terms. Length times width times height, 4 times 3 times 6. And since they're all next to each other, we're going to multiply them. So all we would do is 4 times 3 is 12, right? Because 4 times 3 gives us 12. And then we have the 6 there. And now we know 12 times 6 is 72. And again, if you wanted to, you can just multiply everything out, because 4 times 3 is 12, 12 times 6 is 72. Since we're dealing with volume, it's going to be centimeters cubed. And don't forget the cubed. Cubed is only whenever we're dealing with volume. And it's cubed because, again, you have 3 dimensions. You're dealing with the length, you're dealing with the width, you're dealing with the height. Whereas surface area, even though surface area is for the 3D shape, surface area is that you're finding the area of a rectangle, 6 rectangles. Always remember, volume is always cubed, and surface area is always squared. But again, 72 just represents how much would actually fill up that box. Always remember, whenever it's surface area, it's always on the outside of the figure. Whenever it's volume, it's always what's on the inside of the figure. You're going to have 2 questions that ask you then to find surface area, and you're going to have 2 questions that ask you to find volume. That's it. 6 questions. I'll always give you 6 questions for all the quizzes, but every time there's a quiz or every time there's a test the day before it, I'll always do a quick practice with this. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Feel free to ask. Good luck, guys. Good luck on tomorrow's quiz, and stay safe. Take care.